Hello and welcome back to Fallout 76. Today we're going to talk about armor and why it doesn't matter. Now, what do I mean when I say your armor doesn't matter? What I'm talking about specifically is those numbers at the bottom of the Pip-Boy display, the damage and energy resistance. Now, when I say they don't matter, I'm exaggerating a little bit. They matter, however, they are the least important part of your defense. If you're looking to make your character more tanky, more durable, then chasing higher and higher numbers is not the way to go about it. So to start off the test, what I have is a set of Secret Service. It's all 1 stars and it's all aristocrats. So I'm getting plus 20 to each piece to my energy and damage resistance. So for 5 pieces, an extra 100 to my damage and energy resistance. The reason I chose aristocrats over vanguards is that vanguards, once you start to take damage, you start to lose some of your bonus. And so the number is not a steady number that you're getting. With aristocrats, I'm not going to lose caps as I take damage. So I will get the same bonus throughout the health bar of my character. And you can see right there, my ballistic resistance is 427 and my energy is 397. Those are really high, really good numbers. So for the test, we are going to start off with no defensive perks at all. So I've removed, you can see where I'm missing points. I have removed I am just double checking here. Yep, I've removed all the defensive perks. So all we have is those numbers on our armor to protect us. So we are in a silo and we are just going to go in here and let things shoot us. I don't expect to live very long, but we'll see how it goes. Sometimes these turrets are kind of, yeah, they take their time. But you can see we can take quite a bit of damage. But we're not going to last very long. If we stand out here, we can get another turret shooting at us, and we're dead. So now we are going to equip a different set of armor. This is a Overeater set, but it's level 1 light leather armor. So in terms of defensive numbers, it isn't very high. You can see our resistance. We have 8 ballistic and 18 energy, which is basically nothing. And again, our perks are the same. I haven't changed anything with the perks. All I've done is swap armors. Now this is a case, I still don't expect to last a tremendously long time here. But well, you can see that I don't have blocker equipped. And so you can see no blocker, that makes a huge difference. That RoboBrain took a big chunk of our health. So we're going to do a couple of things here. We're going to add blocker to our build. And we are going to add Lone Wanderer, which takes, we just take 20% less damage. Now, if I was on a team, or if you're on a team with another player, and that player has, well, if you're on a team with another player, obviously Lone Wanderer isn't going to help you. But if that other player has Speed Demon, currently Speed Demon is giving the benefit of the Empath mutation. The Empath mutation, if you're unfamiliar with it, it gives teammates a 25% damage reduction. So that's actually slightly better than what Lone Wanderer does, but I don't have a teammate, I'm all by myself, so we're going to use Lone Wanderer and take 20% less damage there. So just making that minor change should have a pretty big effect on how long we survive. Certainly with blocker, I mean, we're still gonna go down pretty quickly, but blocker, yeah, this is the reason why I didn't put a timer on this to compare the times, because there's really no way to know what's gonna attack you and where. Before we had a RoboBrain come up to us and now we don't, but you can still see we didn't last that long. But we did last a little longer than without any perks at all. But there's still more we can do. So now we're going to add in Dodgy, which avoids 30% incoming damage at the cost of 30 action points per hit. So Herbivore gives me the double benefit from veggie foods. And you can see I'm using Company T, which increases my AP regen by 20%, which is massive. Which, when you have Dodgy going, you do need that AP regen. Otherwise, what'll happen is Dodgy will just eat through your AP and then it'll stop helping. So just by making that one little change, that should have a pretty significant boost on our survivability here. And if you look at our AP bar, it goes down a little bit here and there, but it just comes right back, and that is because of Company T. So you can see we are surviving longer than we were before, but our AP bar or our health bar is still going down, and eventually we'll be dead. So now we're going to do a couple more things. We are going to add in Ricochet, which will reflect enemy damage back at them from time to time. Which, that's a good thing, because that is basically damage avoidance. So every time Ricochet triggers, that's damage that we are not taking. And we are going to equip this weapon. This is a vampire weapon, which every time we hit an enemy, it gives us health. We're not going to be shooting. This actually pairs very nicely with Ricochet. So every time the Ricochet perk triggers, it has the same effect in terms of the vampire effect as if we were the ones doing the shooting. So every time that triggers, we're going to heal 3% or 2% of our health, rather. So there we have our gun, stick it out. We are not going to be shooting. We are going to stand here, but this should make quite a big difference in terms of our survivability. And every time you see that pop up, which is quite often, because it's such a high fire rate, every time you see that pop up, we're getting a 2% health regen. And you can see that's pretty massive. We are taking damage, but then the regen from vampires will just keep kicking in. And if we could trigger, if we can step over here a little bit, we could trigger another turret. And now it's just constant healing. Our health really isn't, but we do, eventually what'll happen is we'll get down to eventually, but it can actually take several minutes. And I'm not gonna stand here for several minutes, but you can see that's actually a massive difference in terms of our survivability. Just having that perk with a vampire weapon, and we're not shooting. So it really doesn't matter what the vampire weapon could be. It could be anything. It could be a switchblade, because it's all about the defense. It's not about shooting back. Now, in practice, would you do this if you're actually playing the game? No, you'd be shooting back. So any of the measures you can take that adds to your survivability will make a difference. But you can see you don't need big resistance numbers at all. So I want to try one more thing just for fun. So this character's not a low health character. I don't normally play low health. It's something I'm not all that practiced in, but we're gonna see what we can do with, again, we have a set of level 1 armor. This is unyielding, so obviously it's not going to give us any extra defense. But if you're playing low health, it doesn't really make sense to run any other kind of armor. I mean, that's the big point of running low health, is the unyielding benefit. If you're at 20%, that's a massive boost to your specials. Plus 3 to all your specials, except endurance, is massive. Now, my character is at 25%, which is good enough for the test because our other buffs really aren't gonna matter. It's basically just, if we're at low health, what can we do? So I do still have Blocker and Lone Wanderer. I am still running Dodgy. Now, low health can be beneficial with Dodgy, you just have more AP to work with. But with the high AP regen, it doesn't matter a whole lot. I'll still be using Ricochet with a vampire weapon, but I've added in this perk, Serendipity. So as long as we're below 30% health, which we are, we have a 45% chance to avoid damage. So we will just avoid a lot of damage, or a lot of the times we'll just avoid damage altogether. So this wasn't something that I necessarily planned to do. I kind of did it on the fly because I'm curious. So I don't really know how this is going to go. It'll go great if I don't get shot at, though. If the turret just looks at me and does nothing, then yeah, they're kind of funny that way. So there's some fire damage. You can see the pop-up from, I think that's a Serendipity pop-up. So yeah, Ricochet's helping. We don't have as big a health pool to deal with, though, and we're not getting Overeater's bonus as well. So that Overeater's bonus is actually quite significant, but you can see our survivability is still pretty good. And there's actually one thing you could do to make your survivability even better this way, but yeah, having 2 turrets shoot at you at once seems to actually be a little better than just one, because Ricochet is just triggering that much more. But ooh, we were close down there in the range, but you can see just having perks with basically no resistance, and we're not really getting any resistance from the legendary effect on the armor, but that Serendipity perk is excellent. So yeah, we're actually surviving pretty well here. I'm pleasantly surprised. So even at low health, people think, oh, low health, you're a glass cannon for all that extra damage. No, not so much. If you do your perks properly, you can be quite durable as a low health character, even if your resistance is basically nothing. So when you're trying to make your character more tanky, more durable, what you really want to look at are your primary effects on your armor. That's very important. Secondary effects as well, poison resistance, fire resistance can make a difference. Definitely want to look at your perks, and the last thing you want to look at is your resistance numbers. Those are definitely the least important part. Hopefully you enjoyed my little experiment. If you did, please hit one of the buttons, and I hope you'll join me in the next one. Thank you very much.